So it's a real landmark for us, 10 years. I remember introducing the event back at the BT Tower in 2004. And again, it's great to see a number of people actually at this event today that were there at the very start. And this has really grown year on year. And again, it's really great to see so many familiar faces each and every year, and have the opportunity to share with you what's happening in the industry around technology and what we're doing with partners and customers to help drive improvements in innovation. So what I'm going to talk today, really about today is the pace of change within technology, and the theme is disruptive innovation. And I think what's really interesting is the speed in which technology is changing and being adopted in today's world. You know, some pretty impressive stats up there. So just looking at the time it takes to reach 50 million users. So the telephone being the first one, 75 years, but then the acceleration of the adoption through to 50 million users. So TV, 13 years, Facebook, 3.5 years. And I had to get it up there for my son, Angry Birds Space, 35 days. So what is disruptive technology innovation? So what is it about? And again, you know, talking to my son about this event, he was showing me how to build PowerPoint slides last night, which was interesting. But he was saying, so what is it you're talking about, Dad? You know, what is disruptive technology? What is it all about? He said, because surely disruptive is a bad thing. And, you know, I can't believe you go and deliver stuff that's bad for your customers. And I said, well, that's a good point, son. You know, the way we look at it is disruptive innovation is something that really challenges the order of things. It turns markets on its head. And what we're seeing is a lot of technology that's come to the fore, delivered in certain markets that then cross over and get used in the corporate world. So one of the terms that we've talked about is the consumerization of IT. And I think that's a great example where we're seeing more and more tablets being used in today's world, and that whole thing of bring your own device, where people want to bring those devices in and actually use them in a business environment. So this is the wiki definition, but as I said, it's really challenging the order of things, turning things on their head, and really helping to improve how people operate and communicate and compete. I've put a few things up there, and again, myself, the other presenters and the seminars will dig into these in more detail. So a few technologies: social media, cloud, virtualization, of which VMware's a big player, next generation networks, unified communications, the internet, you know, mobiles and tablets and big data. You know, there's a lot of change within technology, and these are some of the ones I've just pulled out that we see as very disruptive. So if we pick up on one of the first ones, social media, you know, this has grown phenomenally. It's changed how people communicate. You know, I think there's some good and bad disruption in how people use social media, but 2.5 billion likes and 845 million active users a day on Facebook. YouTube, a staggering 6 billion hours of video watched every single month. You know, we've got our own TV channel where we've got some great stuff up there. It'd be brilliant to have 6 billion hours of it watched, but, you know, really shows how people are consuming and accessing information today. And I think for me, you know, when you go and look at, if you want to research something, video is a great medium to go and do that. You know, Twitter, 9,100 tweets per second, over 30 million per hour. You know, the growth of LinkedIn. And again, I think the thing is, it's a case that there's a lot of conversation, a lot of information going on out there. And social media is a great way of understanding what's happening and the sentiment within the marketplace. Mobiles and tablets. You know, the picture top left, the executive from Motorola who made the first mobile phone call back in 1973. You know, that mobile phone weighed 1.1 kilograms, right? And you could use it for a staggering 30 minutes before you had to plug it in and charge it for 10 hours to use it again. I remember going to the cricket with my dad as a child, and he had a mobile phone that he told me, son, this is the future of communications, and it could only be described as a handset attached to a car battery with a curly cord. And it was that heavy, we actually had to take it in turns to carry it to and from the cricket. But today, things have changed. We've seen, the introduction of smartphones, and, we're now at a point where we're seeing mobile phones that people are wearing on their wrists. And there's 6 billion active mobile phones in use worldwide today. And look at that stat, 9 million iPhone 5s were sold in the first weekend of launch. The demand and the rate of adoption of mobile devices and tablets today is phenomenal. The internet, and again, hasn't this changed how people work and communicate and access information? Back in 1984, there were 1,000 devices connected worldwide to the internet. By 2012, that had increased to 9.6 billion. And this is projected to grow to 28 billion by 2020. And this is changing again. It's not just a case of people accessing the internet and web pages. There's a new term that's growing up, the Internet of Things, the concept of machine-to-machine communication. And, I wonder how long it's going to be before, every person born on this planet is issued an IP address along with a birth certificate. The idea of us actually being able to know where people are and understand preferences, it will happen. Things will move forward in that space. I had some pretty scary thoughts about the future of technology and augmented reality at 4:30 this morning, but I won't share those with you. So it was a bit off the wall. Unified communications, this is another big changer in our marketplace. So it's really helping to change the way in which people see the telecoms world. The telephone is no longer just a lump of plastic on the desk. It's bringing together lots of different communication channels and devices. It's making it easy for people to communicate across those different mechanisms via simple software applications. And again, these can span a range of different devices. So we're seeing soft phones, we're seeing use across tablets and smartphones, and bringing together these communication channels. And the concept of presence and availability and the location indicators, really changing how we communicate. And Microsoft Lync, launched in 2011, a great example of that. And we'll hear more about that later on. Next generation networks. So again, the big change in networks over the last 10 years. I remember at BT Tower, BT talking about these point-to-point connections, right? And how they were helping to change the way people were communicating and higher bandwidth. Well, we've moved through a lot of changes there, from point-to-point through MPLS, and to what we've seen is ubiquitous access of high-speed fiber and broadband connections today. And of course, what we've seen of the introduction of 4G. So bandwidth continues to increase. The costs continue to come down. And of course, I think we're in a world where there's greater choice and availability of network connection, helping to support the increased demand for application usage. The cloud, I think this is probably one of the biggest terms in our industry at the time. And, if you go and look at it, it really is changing and revolutionizing the way in which people consume applications and services. We've seen the emergence of new models, the concept of software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and these sort of utility models where you can draw down technology as and when you need it on a cost per user basis. The global market is projected to reach £150 billion by 2020, and it's believed that a third of all IT budgets will be spent on the cloud this year. So hopefully that gives you a number of thoughts there around some of the different changes and technology, and really sets the scene for what we're going to talk about today.